Speaking at the launch of the World Investment Report, subtitled Transnational Corporations, Agricultural Production and Development, Professor Hafiz Mirza of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development said he expected a rise in investment over the coming 2 years.
International direct investment declined quite dramatically in 2008. It's still declining in 2009, but we are expecting a pickup in investment in 2010 and 2011. In terms of some of the consequences, which are, I think, very interesting, one is that the decline has been the sharpest from and into developed economies, which means that the consequences are that the landscape of international investment is changing to the extent that developing countries are becoming bigger players, both as recipients of foreign direct investment and also as sources of foreign direct investment as well.
Professor Mirza went on to explain the reasons behind the choice of the annual report's theme.
Every year we have a thematic part of the World Investment Report, and this year we decided to focus on transnational corporations, agricultural production and development. The reason for focusing on agricultural production, because of course TNCs are not really well known as major players in that area in developing countries, is because since the early 1990s there's been quite an upswing in investment globally into agriculture, and more particularly into developing countries. Some of the reasons you already know, of course, the rise of China and other countries from the south, which means that they're importing more from overseas, including agricultural produce, the rising importance of biofuels and so on. So there are good long-term reasons for this. And although if you look at the actual data, you'll find that the total amount of investment by transnational corporations into developed countries is still relatively small compared to other sectors such as manufacturing. Nevertheless, we think this is just the start of a longer-term process. And from our point of view, because we are so concerned for the issue of development in these economies, we recognise that agriculture is a motor for development.
Professor Mirza said the analysis of available data gives hope for the future.
If you look at this, the data for the first quarter of 2009, you find that, for example, investment across the globe has fallen or is likely to fall this year by more than 40% over 2008, which is huge. But then, if you then look at the data or the trends for next year, especially through, for example, a survey of TNCs that we have conducted, of transnational corporations that we have conducted, we find that, in fact, they're expecting, and we're seeing through other local sources, an increase in investment in both 2010 and 2011. And 2011 will not be that far short of the level of foreign direct investment in 2007.
The report found that despite the current economic climate, the future for funder investment looks far better than economists might dare to have hoped.